Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Lester the Cowboy Giles. Hope you're all staying safe out there. On to the good news for today. Reaver numbers are at an all-time low. I figure it has mostly to do with the fact that half of them are too dumb to pull the trigger on their own firearms. Not to mention half of them are Fairhaven Central dropouts to begin with. Anyways, seems like they've been dropping like flies. In other news, reports of a wandering seer seem to be flaring up quite a lot. According to passers-by, the man fitting the description of this here seer fellow is on the lookout for an entrance into the vault. Not sure why anyone in their right mind would want to go wandering up to the front door and knocking. But to each their own, I guess. Regardless, that's neither here nor there. Let's turn to the music. Cowboy here, back to you with some news. Remember what I said about that fella on the lookout for the vault? Well, turns out there's even more odd characters beginning to erupt from the vault. And in other news, the standard issued B-19 oxygen masks are now being recalled. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me correctly. Recalled. By who? Well, I'll tell you. Some scientist on the outskirts of the colony claims to have authority from the founders and their partners to inspect and review all of their issued gear and products. Pal, have you not received the news that a gas killed just about everyone in the colony? Well, consider this your wake-up call. Turns out this same scientist is currently locked in a battle of wit with another vault doctor going by the name Boom Stein. I mean, where the hell do they even come up with these names? Well, back to the music. You know, I think Fairhaven would be a far nicer place if more people embraced the at-home traditions of their family trees and just took care of their own. Maybe having yourself a family, settling down, and just keeping to yourself. The finer things in life. But hell, what do I know? In other news, the Reavers are now undergoing a full-blown change in command. Following the death of their previous Captain Krug and the untimely disappearance of his successor Blaze, the mantle has been handed down to a character by the name of Scourge. Holy hell, these damn names again. It's like listening to a bunch of 3-year-olds decide which character they want to pick in some made-up game they just thought of on the playground. To think, these are the people causing so much trouble around Fairhaven. Not to mention, they scared the holy hell out of the founders too. Doesn't say much about our previous leaders, does it? God, what a shithole we're in. One warning for everyone. Make sure you're on the lookout for wandering hollows. Reports are still low for sightings and hollow occurrences, but that don't mean that you won't be the one to run into one. Stock up on ammunition, practice your running, or hell, just practice your talking skills. I'm sure they'll listen to reason for you, or rip your throat out. Whatever works. Alrighty folks, that about wraps us up for this segment of Rebel Radio. Make sure to tune in next time for more updates on Fairhaven, and to listen to more of those at-home tunes that you all know and love. Until next time, this is the Cowboy, signing off.